Members, we have a quorum. Let me call the meeting to order. Since the last meeting, we have issued 3 papers. You should have received them. There is another one, which is comparatively new. Please refer to the list of follow-up actions. Welcome to you, Undersecretary, and your team. Last time, we talked about nutrition labeling. Last time at the meeting, we asked the Bureau to give us a more detailed paper. The paper was received yesterday and it has been emailed to members. That's for your information, please. Date of the next meeting will be the 8th of July. It's a Tuesday at 2:30. We are going to deal with 3 items in that meeting. Members, you might want to get prepared for a meeting until 5:30. It will be in room 2. The first item, amendments to the Public Health Animals and Birds Animal Traders Regulations for better regulating pet trading. This has to do with pet breeding and pet keeping. Secondly, rodent control. This is a regular item every year. The third item, item 3 in the list of outstanding items. This has to do with further discussion on regulatory control on outside seating, accommodation of, and unauthorized extension of business area by restaurants. Members said last time that we could invite deputations to come. They could include shops and also residents. Since we will be meeting deputations, we are proposing to extend the meeting to 5:30. And then, originally, as I said, the July regular meeting should deal with those 3 items. However, there is a private columbaria bill which should be introduced into LegCo, and it will be difficult for us to process so many items in one meeting. And I might like to discuss with the Bureau to hold a special meeting in July to tackle the private columbaria bill, and will inform you as soon as a date is fixed. It will be a special meeting on the private columbaria bill. The Bureau, if you have a more specific date, please let the panel know as soon as possible. So members, please know that there might have to be a special meeting in July to tackle the private columbaria bill. Okay? Now we can go into the agenda proper. We have quite a few items on the agenda today. First of all, live cattle. Yes? Mr. Tommy Zhang, I raised my hand because I'm not very happy with the arrangements. Number 1, last Saturday there was a hearing on extension by shops and the proposed fixed penalty system. There were 2 sessions because many people came, and I have reason to believe that the outside seating accommodation would also be quite heated. The district councils and other deputations may want to come and speak on it. This is not an urgent item. I would say you should take it out from the meeting next month. It will be our last regular meeting. And as you know, there is a big backlog everywhere, including at the FC, ESC, and the PWSC. We are in a gridlock. When you say you want to have a special meeting, well, In fact, members arrived at this meeting only after 2:35, and I may not be able to stay through this meeting. And Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays are out. I have to attend the marriage amendment bill meeting, and members have so many meetings going on at the same time, and meetings are clashing. So I don't think we should hold a special meeting. Mr. Tommy Zhang thinks that at the next meeting, maybe we should not discuss outside seating accommodation of restaurants. However, at the last meeting, we agreed that we should take it up. So the question remains whether we do it next time. If not, we will keep it in the list of outstanding items. And we may tackle it only in the new legislative year and as appropriate. Chairman, columbarium is something that concerns the whole world, and this panel has been talking about it for 8-10 years. But I don't think rodent control is that important. We can ask Dr. Priscilla Leung to come and give us a briefing, and that's it. I believe we should tackle the columbaria bill sooner. This extension of restaurants, well, the administration has many laws and regulations to tackle this. They can fine you, register demerit points against you, etc. There is no urgency. I'm not saying you should not have one more meeting. I'm just worried that we cannot find a time for it. I think columbaria should be the most important topic. We should advance it. All right. We have a tight agenda today. What about other members? Members, do you think we should tackle the item on extension by restaurants? We believe rodent control will not take up too much time if no members would really ask questions. We will just need a paper from the administration. In other words, in the next meeting, we will just have the regulation for regulating pet trading. Do you want to add the columbaria bill item, or do you want the pet trading item and the extension by restaurants? Because at least we need to have two items in one meeting. Well, Chairman, I think columbaria should enjoy priority. Well, it doesn't matter if we put aside the item on restaurants by 2 months, because the administration is enforcing the law anyway. Okay, if we are all agreed, Undersecretary, can we advance the item on columbaria? Okay, if you agree, then the next meeting would have two items: one, pet trading; two, private columbaria bill. We just need a paper on rodent control, unless members would like to discuss it at the next meeting. Those two items are major items, and maybe we still need to extend the meeting time anyway. So do you agree that we extend the meeting time to 5:30, since those are both major items? All right? And then we'll take another look to see whether members think we need another meeting in July to tackle restaurants. Ms. Claudia Mo. I think it will be very risky for you to propose another meeting in July. I also agree that this is not an urgent item. Okay, we'll just keep this in the list of outstanding items for discussion. Okay, let us start the agenda today. Yes, Dr. Vincent Fang? Before we go into live cattle, I'd like to mention the three information papers which have been sent to us. The second paper, 1664, ex-gratia payments to live poultry operators. I'd like to mention that in that paper, it is said that those who would receive the ex-gratia payments are first of all wholesalers, two, the transport workers, But the paper also states that if you are a retailer of mainland poultry, no ex-gratia payments are paid to them. In other words, you say they also sell chilled chicken and they also sell local chicken. So they do not suffer so much loss and therefore no ex-gratia payment is paid them.
And that would not be fair. You may say that for some retailers, they deal with all three, local chicken, mainland chicken, and chilled chicken. But in the past few months, with the suspension of mainland chicken, there is a drop in their volume of business. Perhaps the administration can, by way of a percentage, subsidize the retailers who also suffer a loss. So, could the administration take into account the percentage of mainland and local chicken they dealt with and give them a subsidy? Perhaps we will ask the administration to give a written reply to Mr. Fang's question. Well, we can't have a detailed discussion here because we have a lot of items on the agenda. Today is a public hearing. We have a number of deputations joining us. Perhaps they can be invited to come in. In relation to the supply of live cattle, the Secretariat has prepared a background brief. There is also an information paper. 5 deputations will attend today's meeting. Let's welcome them. You may use the earpiece and the microphone. Channel 1 is Cantonese, 2 is English, 0 is the floor. Let me remind deputations that whatever you say in submission to the LegCo is not covered by the Legislative Council Powers and Privileges Ordinance. The same applies to your written submission. Let me remind you all that you have to abide by the rules and regulations in relation to attendance in meetings in the LegCo. There was a deputation who said they would attend. It's the farm kit, but they will not attend in the end. Let's first hear from deputations before we hear a reply from the Secretary. You'll find the information in the paper anyway, and we can save time in this way. First, Mr. Yang Jinping, Deputy General Manager of Feng Hong Limited, 3 minutes each. Mr. Yang, you may start. This is the panel of food safety and environmental hygiene. I thank you very much for attending the meeting. The company in 2013 has made some contributions to Hong Kong and has supplied cattle in Hong Kong, and I'm going to tell you the situation for 2013 and 2014 in relation to live cattle. For 2013, we have supplied 19,228 heads of cattle. Supply was steady, and for the first 4 months in 2014, supply of live cattle amounted to 6,134 heads of cattle. That is a drop by about 30 heads. So in April 2014, that is for the first 4 months in April, there is an increase in the number of live cattle, but by about 2.64%. And the second part is about the work we've done in relation to supply of live cattle. We are an agent. And so far, in order to ensure steady supply, we have put in place a number of measures to ensure that safety of the origin in relation to the live cattle. And we have also provided financial support and to put in place the various ways to alleviate the pressure on supply and to stabilize supply. Since October 2013, in relation to the mainland supply of live cattle has seen another increase. And we have closely liaised with the various authorities and organizations on the mainland so that we can be tide over the difficulty. We have also increased purchase of live cattle to meet the peak demand around Chinese New Year. We've also made an effort to get a better understanding of supply, and we have an open mind. We have also organized delegations to visit Inner Mongolia, Beijing, and Shanxi to understand the supply of live cattle to Hong Kong over mainland China. We've also organized delegations to various places. We've also supplied with the AQSIQ to ensure that all the quarantine measures are in place to ensure safety. Your time's up. If you want to listen to Putonghua, is Channel 3. Next is Federation of Hong Kong Agricultural Associations, Mr. Chen Kin Yip. Thank you. We've received the reply from the administration telling us that they, for now, would not consider opening up the live cattle market. Our association is very disappointed. In administration's reply, they said that there is unstable supply on the mainland. And so for the time being, the market will not be opened. We are engaged in agricultural production. We need an open market to support it. So a single channel is undesirable. If the administration tells us that there is an insufficient supply from the mainland, and yet they do not open the market, when will they finally open it up? Because with insufficient production, you need to open the market to encourage other operators to increase their production. If there is insufficient production and yet you keep the market closed, I don't know what's going on in your mind. Last year in October, together with some Hong Kong farmers, we took over the operation of a live cattle farm to supply live cattle to Hong Kong and Macau. All farm produce produced on the mainland and operated by Hong Kong people are used to supply to Hong Kong. However, that is not the case for live cattle. Doesn't our administration have the responsibility to do something about it? I think if our government cannot do this, is the dereliction of duty on the part of our officials. The administration should consider other channels to increase cattle supply instead of relying solely on the mainland. They should consider this. Next is Joint Committee of Hong Kong fresh beef retail and wholesalers. Between May 2012 and October 2012, over that 6 months period, because of the monopolize of Feng Hong, there has been 6 rounds of increase in prices. In other words, the auction price and the wholesale price have increased by 100%. Prior to May 2012, before the price hike, it cost about 1,800 to 2,000 for breeding beef, and so far we're talking about 4,070 per pickle for pickle. So before the price increase in May, every day there are about 80 cattle slaughtered per day, and so far every day it's dropped to about 48 heads. I'm sure this is something the administration knows about. With the many rounds of price increase, our business has dropped by 49%. As you know, that beef is a stable food, and now it has become high-priced stable food. I think now you may have to break your piggy bank just to have some beef for dinner. So we've been fighting to open up the market. We hope more competition can be introduced into the market as a result, and the price will be decided by the market instead of by just one single agent. Well, if there are 50 slaughtered, then there will be 50 in the market. However, the price will be set by this sole agent, and there are about 40. It costs about $4,070 per pickle for breeding beef. I believe that the entire trade and Hong Kong people are all very disappointed. We hope that in this period, the administration will continue to monitor this sole agent. We find that the beef price in Hong Kong is very different from those in other places. So we need to introduce more competitors so that there will be competition. Your time is up. Next is Mr. Chen Chi-hang, spokesperson of the Development Opportunity Research Unit. We're very disappointed and we feel helpless. We have given you some information that with the sole agent being responsible for import is a monopoly. So for retailers, wholesalers, consumers is unreasonable because there is no comparison with the monopoly. It's just like, and today there is a rice, beef cake with rice set. It costs about $30 or so. Do you think that it is just beef in it? And is it fresh beef? So you have to consider that because people are concerned. The central authority has put in place a plan. We are encouraged by it because without the planning, we would not know whether the supply of lamb and beef can be improved. So we hope that the Mainland, the central authority will meet its target to bring a balance between supply and demand. However, we can't have the steed starving when the grass is growing. We hope that the administration will do something, including talking to the central authorities and stabilize live cattle supply to Hong Kong. We also hope the administration will monitor the import price of beef to keep it within a reasonable range. Mr. Hui talks about beef prices. If you read the information we supplied to the LegCo, we have asked some questions. We would like to hear from the administration. When it comes to the wholesale price of fresh beef, it's about $67 per kilo. If you look at the 4,070 per piku for breeding beef, it works out to be about $67.3 per kilogram. But it's for the wholesale price for the whole cattle. But what about the wholesale price for beef? Because beef accounts for only 55% of the cattle. So if you do the conversion, it's about $120 per kilo, which is quite high. I hope the administration will do more. And when it comes to monitoring, the administration will have to do more than it's doing now.
Now we only have one agent without sufficient monitoring. How can the public see how LegCo members are monitoring the issue? Thank you very much. Your time is up. Last deputation, Hong Kong Pig Raising Development Federation, Mr. Fong Kin Chung. Good afternoon. The Hong Kong Pig Raising Development Federation would like to say that the price of live cattle has been affected by the climate, breeding feed, animal disease, and also the exchange rate. Animal meat prices have been rising throughout the world. But now in Hong Kong, there is a short of supply. Import has dwindled. And we are asking the administration to do supervision so that the price of live cattle would be reasonable, so that the operators, the breeders, and the consumers can all benefit. We agree that there should be more agents. I think we should implement this as soon as possible. If we wait longer, more operators will be phased out. Actually, cattle selling or beef selling is quite a profession. You have to carve up the head of cattle in order to sell the different parts. And if you don't introduce more import agents now, some operators may be driven out of the market, and there would be a vicious cycle because fewer people would be in the trade. We also know that at the Shui Abattoir in Hong Kong, the design capacity is for 400 heads of cattle to be slaughtered every day, but now the daily average is only 60. If we can have more import and sell more beef, I'm sure the abattoir fees can come down by a wide margin. Right now, the slaughter fee is like $1,000 per head. I think we can lower the cost at different parts of the supply chain so the public can buy reasonably priced beef, and so that the people in the trade can continue to survive. Thank you. Thank you, deputations, for your views. Now I'd like to ask Dr. or Professor Sophia Chan, Undersecretary for Food and Health, to speak for 3 minutes in response. Yes, Chairman. First of all, I'd like to thank the deputations for coming to let us know your views. We are aware of your concern, which is mainly about supply, the prices, and also whether we should open up the live cattle market. Now I'd like to respond to your views. The main responsibility of the administration is to provide a stable and diversified as well as sufficient food supply to the public. Also, we have to be mindful about food safety. So all along, we have placed emphasis on food safety and stable supply. In terms of supply, I think you have spoken on that. The supply volume has been adjusted downwards in recent years, but we also have chilled and frozen beef apart from live cattle. That side, the supply has remained stable. In terms of prices, we know that in May 2013, Ng Feng Hong adjusted the prices. And since then, prices have not changed for live cattle. We're also aware that from May 2013 to now, the prices of live cattle on the mainland has risen, actually by 7.3%. Of course, the wholesale price of live cattle in Hong Kong has also risen in recent years. This is because of an increase in the import price of live cattle. But as I said, Hong Kong people also make use of chilled and frozen beef. The supply and consumption of live cattle have both decreased in Hong Kong, but then there is an increase in chilled and frozen beef. For example, in 2013, the total consumption of beef in Hong Kong has risen by almost 100% over 2012. So we can see that the overall supply of beef in the market is relatively abundant, and consumers may choose different types of beef based on their needs and preferences. I also like to give an account on the opening up of the live cattle market. I think you know that last year we reflected the views to the Ministry of Commerce. The FH Bureau also did our own assessment and analysis. Our bureau chief met with the Minister of Commerce on the mainland, and we looked at different issues, lowering of supply and also rising of prices. They held meetings to discuss these, and the MOC set up a working group, and there was a seminar organized in November last year in which different organizations and the trade were invited. Sorry, your time is up, Undersecretary. Why don't you now answer members' questions? Yes? Usually, we do not limit the time of speaking for bureau chiefs. Well, we only have until 3:20 for this item, and we would have to go to the next item on formula milk. Well, we do not have a precedent to limit the time of speaking by bureau chiefs. No, we had that precedent. Well, usually, you only limit our time in answering or asking questions. Look, Mr. Wong Kwok Heng, Deputy Chairman, myself, and Mr. Tommy Cheung has raised hands. Now we also have Ms. Alice Mack. Any more members who would like to speak on the issue? Because we only have until 3:20 and we only have 10 more minutes. And yet 5 members have indicated interest to speak. Therefore, I need to stop the Undersecretary. If you can ask shorter questions, then the Undersecretary will have more time in speaking. Or else we will be eating into the time for the next item. Too bad if you don't like it, I'm the chairman. Well, you are the chairman, but your authority does not mean that you can limit everybody's speaking time. Okay, Mr. Wong Kwok Heng. If I do not stop the Undersecretary and limit members' speaking time, it will be impossible for us to complete the meeting today. Mr. Tommy Cheung, if you are not happy, you can write a written complaint. I'm complaining against you orally, and I'm questioning your decision. I have heard you. Mr. Wong Kwok Heng, 3 minutes, including a reply. Chairman, I have a few questions for the Undersecretary. Number 1, Ng Feng Hong is the only import agent. And as the trade said, it is a monopoly. the import volume and wholesale price, if the administration does not monitor and regulate these, no one else can. The administration did something about this in the last year, but I'd like to ask you whether your supervision can be based on an established and sustainable mechanism that every month, every year, you have to supervise the daily import volume and the wholesale price, and also publish this for the public so you can protect Hong Kong people's health, food safety, and also price stability. Can you promise to do that? Number 2, on the mainland, you say there is also a lowering of supply. Now, can you not be more proactive in supporting import of live cattle from other countries? Please give a focused reply. Undersecretary, thank you, Mr. Wong. First question about import volume and prices, whether we supervise that. I can tell Mr. Wong that from time to time we communicate with Ng Fong Hong and we keep a close watch on the import level and also prices. There is a mechanism to keep the situation under watch, and we can communicate with Ng Fong Hong if there is any problem. Sorry, Undersecretary. I'm not asking you whether you communicate with Ng Fong Hong. I was asking you whether you would supervise Ng Fong Hong. If we should see a skyrocketing of the prices, should we complain to you? I think the trade needs to know that. As I was saying, we have the responsibility to maintain supply of live cattle to Hong Kong. We have a system in keeping watch of live cattle and other types of beef, including supply and prices. As I said, we maintain communication with Ng Fong Hong, but of course, we may not be able to regulate all business acts. No laws allow us to do that, but we maintain communication with them and we are aware of the situation. Your second question is whether we would import non-mainland live cattle. And if somebody is interested, will we consider that? Well, actually, we have an open mind. If live cattle from other countries can be introduced into Hong Kong, we are not going to forbid it. But as to whether that will be cost effective, that is going to be some business consideration. Deputy Chairman, Mr. Wong, I can tell you, Ng Fong Hong has monopolized the Hong Kong market. I think we must open up the market. Last time we had a meeting on the 28th of May, and we said they had already increased the prices for 8 times. And after 28th of May, the administration is saying that prices have remained stable. Why? Ng Fong Hong told us that it was because the cost has gone up. In other words, the cost per head of live cattle had gone up. But what about this year? From January to May, the prices have gone up by 4% on the mainland. Why not in Hong Kong? This is because it's very clear that they have monopolized the market. And they have only told the administration that the live cattle price is at $4,070 per pickle. You have to look at this more closely. It is said that in paper 1511, 12 to 13, it is said that the marginal profit is to the tune of $12 million. Do you know how much commission has been taken out? The commission is to the tune of 6%. In other words, I can multiply $3.96 billion with the percentage. I will tell you that they have already made a profit of over $20 million. So that paper does not tell you the whole truth. I will now here solemnly ask the Bureau to write another paper and then take this up with the relevant authorities in the mainland in order to stabilize the Hong Kong market. And lastly, it is said that the supply is stable, so you're not going to do anything now. You're saying that actually the supply is unstable, so you don't want to do it. Well, if the supply was stable, you wouldn't do anything, and you say now the supply is unstable, you wouldn't do it. So when are you going to do something? That is not the right attitude.
I think the administration will have to pay attention to this. And I have a question. Apart from opening up the market, will they encourage Hong Kong farmers to take a place in the mainland market? We can't be sitting ducks. The live cattle market also reflects the situation when it comes to other food produce. There is only 8 seconds left. May I answer? We hear Mr. Ho's view, and we will look into it. Mr. Ho mentioned about the mainland prices and the Hong Kong prices when it comes to beef. The Food and Health Bureau actually engaged a consultant to look into the prices because of the standard of living, because of transportation cost and various other causes. There is a difference, and that's why it's not surprising that Hong Kong prices are higher than those of on the mainland. We have had a discussion with the Ministry of Commerce. Our secretary has spoken to their minister, and on the mainland there are a number of surveys done looking into the mainland market. Well, there is a drop in volume on the mainland when it comes to breeding stock. Well, they have to look into the market before they can decide what they're going to do to increase the volume. So it's not the case that they have closed the doors. When will you be able to give us an information paper? We're in close liaison with the Ministry of Commerce. Soon as we have the information, we will revert to the panel. It's my turn, then Tommy Zhang and Alice Mack. This is a crucial point. Now that we have the sole agent, which is Ng Fong Hong. If we are to open up the live cattle market, there will be more wholesalers or importers. According to the information paper, mainland live cattle has got a tight supply. There aren't many cattle farmers on the mainland, and the prices on the mainland are also increased. Under paragraph 7, it says that in 2013 it cost $39.1 per catty. That is the import price, and it has increased by $2.10 per catty. So, with a sole agent of Ng Fong Hong, compared to opening up the market, there is no guarantee that the prices will be driven down. Is that right? That's right. We have talked about this in a panel meeting. We have conducted surveys, and we found that opening up the market does not necessarily drive down prices, because prices at the cost of production, transportation have all increased on the mainland. So I'd like to know about the views of the deputations. If the market is opened up, you will try to source cattle from other places, aiming at driving down the price. According to the administration, that would not happen because cost is high on the mainland. What's your view? Please go ahead. It's impossible, in my view, to see a plummet, to see the prices plummeting. But with the opening up of the market, there will be adjustment in prices because the market mechanism will squeeze out those who are unfit. As I said, this is a commercial behavior, but what is occurring now is monopoly. So there is a no market operation here. We are confident that with more agents, not just one more, maybe several more, the prices will be adjusted to reflect the situation. The situation now does not reflect reality. And as Mr. Ho said, there may be some figures that have been hidden. Feng Hong, you have 30 seconds. I would like to respond to what the legislator said. We are a listed company. We have disclosed all the information. They're accurate. We have not hidden anything. Even with the increase in the number of agents, will it drive down prices? We all know what our profit level is. We have a return, a gross profit of 5.9%. We have all the information, and you can make your own judgment. And as to whether opening up the market will drive down prices, this has already been answered. I'm not going to elaborate. Next, Mr. Tommy Zhang. We have spoken on this many times. My view is different from that of other legislatures. I don't think the administration should intervene if they think the price is not correct. But there are some background here. Well, for some people, they think that with universal suffrage, it would be better because if the current chief executive is poor, he will not be returned. But the thing is, even with opening up the market, and their profit level may increase and prices will still be high. But, well, so long as the market is not open up, that you will attract criticism. Some people say that it's monopoly by a listed company. And some people say that maybe you should give the monopoly to someone else, not Feng Hong. Last time, when it comes to chilled beef, there was a suggestion that it should only be sold in supermarket, and people criticized you for it. Well, I have some questions. When it comes to beef prices, apart from the mainland, have you done any price comparisons with the rest of the world? Say, for example, on chilled beef, did you compare the import price, the cost, to see whether there was any increase? If you don't know today, doesn't matter. Go back and find the information. I wonder whether it's just in China that there was an increase in beef prices, or is the same for the rest of the world? Or is the case that it's only the price of fresh beef or live cattle that has seen an increase? Thank you, Mr. Zhang. In answer to your question, first of all, I'd like to thank you for your comment. Our understanding is that although we don't have the exact figures, chilled frozen beef have seen an increase in price. So in the rest of the world, if you want, we can find you the figure. So it's not just in relation to live cattle. I asked the administration to do a comparison. Say, for example, in the past 2 years, we used a price level of live cattle in 2012. You can easily obtain the information. Use either the wholesale price or the retail price and compare the same with New Zealand, Brazil, US, Canada, Australia. Well, they may be chilled beef, but still you can give us a price comparison over the past 2 years. Ms. Alice Mack. My question is similar to those asked by Mr. Tommy Zhang. From 2011 to now, but as you know that we have done some wet market surveys, we checked prices of food. From 2011 to now, the price level of beef has increased significantly. In the first quarter of 2011, price level of beef has dropped, while the price level of pork increased. That was a time when chilled beef was introduced. People thought that that would drive down prices. However, as Mr. Zhang said, that chilled beef is only available in supermarkets, and as a result, not many customers buy it. So the impact of chilled beef has been absorbed by the market, and everything returned to normal. You said that you keep an open mind, but we asked you to open up the market. You do not do it. Or perhaps you cannot tackle Feng Hong. That's why you cannot tackle the live cattle market. Have you considered the chilled market? The secretary said that we can't rely only on one source, and for it to be sold in just one type of outlet. But in the end, nothing was done. Have you considered other ways to make beef more affordable to the public? Say, for example, introduce an alternative. Thank you, Ms. Mack. On chilled beef, in 2013 November, we have added 6 more qualified supply of chilled beef on the mainland from 1. You may not feel it, but we, if necessary, would discuss with the AQSIQ as to that can be increased. I just want you to know that for chilled beef, there indeed was an increase. What about supermarket only? For it to be sold outside supermarkets, we will look into it. But you said that you would look into it in the last government, and so far we have no result. So I don't just want to see a result. Don't just want to see a study. I want results as well. We have overrun on this item. There is no second round. Perhaps we will arrange another occasion to discuss with the administration. Last member in the first round, Mr. Joseph Lee. Well, I've been here for quite some time, but I've never seen the trade representative being so worked up. If you see that they are so worked up, you see that there is monopoly when it comes to fresh beef, whether it's a historical problem or whatever. There is a problem of monopoly. Mr. Hui, you deal in wholesale and retail and retailing. Well, the administration said that they're not going to open up the market. I've been here for 10 years, and all I heard from them is just lip service. And they're trying to left you high and dry. The trade thinks that there is monopoly and the market should be open, but it's refused by the administration. Do you have, maybe can you, well, I'll say jokingly, get some parallel import beef to Hong Kong? Well, we have an open market. The administration may think that it should not intervene. But maybe you can find some other suppliers on the mainland, use to source beef from, say, Vietnam.
But if you tell me you cannot find any other sources, then too bad. If we can only rest with Ng Fong Hong, then we need not discuss this any further. If you are really talking about a free market, then we should go for it. That's our principle. So first of all, would the trade be capable of sourcing live cattle from outside the mainland? And two, the administration, you talk about a free economy, but then you say you would not do anything about this monopoly. Undersecretary, can I ask the trade to answer first? Mr. Hui? Thank you. Dr. Lee? Actually, Ng Fong Hong has monopolized the supply of live cattle for decades. If we look at the wholesale food market, be it pigs, vegetables, or fruit, the markets have been opened up. And live cattle is the only market that has not been opened up. And we are not talking about a lowering of prices as such. We are saying by introducing competitors, we can open up the market so there will be more fairness. Right now, it is like an allocation system. Ng Fong Hong is the only import agent, and it can charge whatever price it wants. We have no bargaining power at all. And without bargaining power, how can there be competition? And I'm also very unhappy about the Bureau. The Bureau always says, without live cattle, you can go for chilled or frozen beef. It is not helping to boost the live cattle market. If not for the high prices, please be as brief as possible, Mr. Hui. Just a minute. In 2006, live cattle took up 22%, and then in 2012, 6%. In 2013, only 2.5%. So are you drowning out the live cattle market? We hope the market will be opened up so that there will be ups and downs. That's what a market should be like. Now, if the Hang Seng Index is always 20,000 points, then it's not a stock market. Okay, we have heard you, Mr. Hui. We revisit this issue almost every year. And members' stance and the deputation's views are well known. So, Undersecretary, can you give a brief response? Yes, Chairman. I must clarify that Ng Fong Hong is an export agent of the mainland. It is actually a kind of management system for the export of live cattle from the mainland. Whether we want to open up the market, we first have to discuss with and also consult the Ministry of Commerce. As I said, the MOC now needs time to manage the live cattle situation on the mainland itself. The next step would be for them to let us know the way forward. So we will keep close liaison with the MOC and also the market. Thank you. Right, I hope the Bureau will follow up the issue closely on our behalf. Next, we go into another item. I'd like to thank the 5 deputations for coming. Thank you. If you have not given us your submissions, please leave a copy with the Secretariat. We'll ask another team of officials to come in. We are going to discuss the supply chain of powdered formula.
咁就有陳肇始教授。
We still have Professor Sylvia Chan, and she will be joined by Mr. Jeff Leung, Deputy Secretary for Food and Health Food 2 Acting.
咁咧呢一個嘅資料文件都俾大家。
The paper has been issued to members, and Professor Sylvia Chan, can you walk us through the paper briefly? We're talking about the powdered formula. Yes, Chairman and members. In December last year, we reported to this panel on the outcome of the review on measures to improve the supply chain of powdered formula. We concurred with the assessment made by the consultant undertaking the stress test and the views of the Committee on Supply Chain of Powdered Formula. We consider that under the premise of ensuring a stable and sufficient supply to meet local demand, the government should not rush into repealing the provisions introduced under the Import and Export General Amendment Regulation 2013, that the conditions are not ripe yet. We believe the supply chain should be improved by the sector, and the Committee on Supply Chain of Powdered Formula should continue to operate and also to continue to update the situation. We are going to do regular surveys on the price of powdered formula, and now I'd like to report to you on the progress. In terms of the supply and prices, before the Lunar New Year, we expected that there would be a higher demand, and so in mid-December and also early January, we had 2 meetings with the trade in order to urge them to follow the improvement measures made by the consultant, so they get sufficiently prepared to make sure that there would be sufficient supply for Christmas and the Lunar New Year. Especially, they should give priority to meeting the demand of local babies. And also in mid-April, we had another meeting with the trade to make sure that they will be able to cope with the demand on Labor Day. After the 3 meetings, we issued press releases to the public. As for surveys on supply and prices, we continue to do those. Before the Lunar New Year, we commissioned a consultant to do a few rounds on the supply and retail prices. We looked at the stress tests last year, and we particularly surveyed the 2 major brands and also media reports. It is found that in early January, there was a serious shortage of the supply of these 2 major brands, and we already asked the suppliers to follow up, and the situation improved already in late January. The consultant, in fact, from late April to early May, conducted 2 surveys. The results revealed that although the overall shortage situation had improved, compared with the situation in the run-up to Lunar New Year, still certain brands of powdered formula was still not providing enough supply. We did not find the serious hiking of prices or marking up of prices as reported in the media. We'll continue to do that survey throughout Hong Kong, and the results of the survey will be regularly published. We are also going to supply the information to the Committee on Supply Chain of Powdered Formula, so it can continue to make proposals to improve the supply chain. Now, on improving the supply chain, in the past few months, as I said, we had met with the trade. We had held meetings of the Committee on Supply Chain of Powdered Formula. We also followed up the improvement measures taken by the trade to gauge progress and effect. This is in para 18 of the paper. The committee also had a meeting in February, and members made further proposals on the basis of the response from the trade. And the administration has asked the trade to give more specific response on improvement to the supply chain, including the implementation timetable and also indicators of the effect. We're also aware that there is the pre-order service. We encourage suppliers to promote pre-order services, including the coupon and also hotline, also home delivery, as well as collection from chain stores. We believe such pre-order services can provide a dedicated supply chain for local infants and young children. In other words, we separate local and non-local demand. When there is shortage of powdered formula in the market, the pre-order service will still be able to make sure that there is sufficient supply to local babies. In the peak before Lunar New Year, we were aware that with the promotion of the trade, the pre-order service has been used more, and we encouraged parents to make use of different pre-order services so as to lessen the pressure on demand for powdered formula on the retail front. We'll continue with the publicity, so hopefully we can resolve this supply problem in the long term. And the suppliers have also said that if parents will use the pre-order service, they have promised that within 3 days, of course, discounting Saturdays, Sundays, and public holidays, they have said that they will be able to make the delivery within 3 days. And we have asked the consultant to look at the experience of parents and their preference for different pre-order services. The first survey will be done this month. The survey results hopefully can help us come to grips with the acceptability of different pre-order services for local parents, and they will also help the committee to further urge suppliers to promote the use of pre-order services by parents. We'll continue to listen to views of the committee and also views of members at this panel. We hope the supply chain can be further improved. And then we will make a decision on how we should tackle or process this two-tin rule. Let me see how many members would like to ask questions. Ms. Alice Mack, Mr. Tommy Zhang, Dr. Joseph Lee, myself, and Deputy Chairman have raised hands. Does any other member wish to speak on this item? If not, I'll draw a line there. Also, Dr. Vincent Fang, he will be coming to the meeting, so 6 members. Again, we are going to steal 10 minutes from the Fisheries Development Loan Fund item. 3.5 minutes for each member, including a reply, Ms. Alice Mack. It's quite odd, Chairman. First, my question for the Undersecretary is that you said the Committee on Supply Chain of Powdered Formula will have another meeting in July. Does it mean that you're going to make a decision to whether the regulation would be amended? Last time you conducted the stress test, but you were criticized. Nobody seemed to trust the results. Will you adopt a different methodology this time around? Just now I have heard you say you commission consultants after consultants to do surveys. Really, are the consultants effective in their work? What methodologies do they use? They just go out and ask around or what? Can you tell us their methodologies? You have been doing these stress tests, but people do not buy the results. People are not convinced. Undersecretary. Thank you, Ms. Mack. At the July meeting, now, since meetings are not held very frequently, and in the interim, we have done 2 types of surveys. One, retail and also prices. Secondly, the preference for different pre-order services and how parents would like to use the service. From what I understand, at the July meeting, we are going to discuss survey results. And secondly, the trade is represented at the committee. We will ask it to report what happened since the last meeting vis-à-vis the improvement to the supply chain. And then As for the stress tests, our present view is that we did it once, we had a report, and now we'd like to look forward to see how we can improve the supply chain. Therefore, the next step is again in this direction. We don't want to spend energy on more stress tests, and we are going to keep watch of the situation. I think the situation has somewhat eased, and so we might not conduct another stress test.
Our focus will be on improvement. The third part as to how the consultant will conduct these studies, I will defer to the Permanent Secretary. Thank you for your question. In December, we reported to the committee about the results of the stress test. We made it clear that the stress test was comprehensive and effective, and the scope covers the 4 areas in the improvement measures, including daily sufficient delivery, strengthening of the hotline service, and the coupon scheme, etc. When the consultant designed the stress tests, they have taken into account all these areas. The whole chain from the pharmacy, from hotline to the storage, they've all been tested, and we chose just before the Golden Week because it's the most effective time to see if these improvement measures have been effective. We think the stress test has met the objectives. That is, whether these improvement measures could meet the targets. Mr. Tommy Zhang, I think it's a waste of time no matter what you do or will do. Well, if you had listened to me in the first place and conducted stress tests in the first place, everything would have been resolved. Now you're talking about two formula of two major brands. You can simply put the formula powder ban on these two major brands and relax the other brands. We see the #1 formula of these two brands everywhere, and you bundle everything up. And I can tell you, Under Secretary, that it has undermined our competitiveness. How could you do something like that just to win some applause? It's still that there is still a shortage for the two brands. You may do 10 other stress tests, and it will come to one conclusion, that there is a shortage for these two brands. So next time, I think next time you should try this. You should try this and do stress test of the two brands only if they continue to withhold stock and supply. And if it doesn't work, I'll eat my hat. We have already told you about the stress test, and we don't have any plans to do any further. What we're doing now is to look for improvement in the improvement of the supply chain. The survey is not a stress test. We survey the supply, and we would like to separate the pre-order service so that we will know whether the demand of local mothers can be separated. I'm just trying to tell you that no matter how many more stress tests you're going to do, it's going to be the same, because it will be the same for the two major brands. I don't mind you doing more tests. But it's just that before you do anything, well, you can do some more tests, but you can make it out very clearly that if the test turns out that a certain brand still sees a shortage, there will be more measures targeting that particular brand. But there is another avenue, which is the Committee on Supply Chain of Powdered Formula. We urged suppliers to maintain supply and prices. I have very little time. Don't talk about supply to me. We're only talking about 2 brands. Tackle these 2 brands and everything will be resolved. You don't have to use the formula milk ban anymore, which is an ugly measure. But perhaps you will take into account Mr. Zheng's comment to tackle these 2 brands. Mr. Lee. Well, I have a different view, different from that of Mr. Zheng. I'm glad that there is this ban because a lot of people benefit from it. They have the formula milk, and some other people make more money. There are some figures. With the ban, some suppliers of certain brands, there is an increase in the volume of import, whereas for some other brands, there is a shortage. Well, I guess, I may be wrong, the ban is to help local mothers to purchase formula milk. But in the end, you only help the parallel traders to do more business and for the suppliers to do more business. However, local mothers continue to encounter difficulties when they try to purchase formula milk. Perhaps the increase in supply has gone somewhere else. Anyway, not into the homes of local mothers. If you see, the situation is that for some individual brands, there is a shortage. Why don't you do something to ensure that these brands will have sufficient supply? Why do you bundle everything together? Is there a hidden agenda that you don't want them to sell formula milk so that so the mothers will breastfeed? Are you being a fundamentalist? Undersecretary. Well, you all talk about 2 brands. It's more than that, 2 to 3, sometimes 3 brands. I was talking about several, not just 2. We are aware of that, and we have been discussing with formula milk suppliers. We urge them to improve the supply. We ask them why there is a shortage in supply. We give them recommendations to improve, and we've been monitoring the situation. So there is no collusion between the business sector and the government. Perhaps I will ask the Deputy Secretary to supplement. At the beginning of the year before last, there was a shortage because for 3 brands there was an acute shortage. But the overall situation was that there are 7 major brands, 7 major suppliers. When we impose the ban, it covers other brands, because if we only target the brands where there was a shortage, we could not have ruled the possibility that parallel traders will move on to other brands. So a proper way was to deal with the situation as a whole. The question I would like to ask is this. In Hong Kong, there are a lot of formula milk being shipped to other places, say Macau and Zhuhai, as reported. And last year, there has been an increase of 80% of formula milk being shipped to Macau via Hong Kong, 5.18 million tins. This would have affected Hong Kong's supply. So I want to know how much of the formula milk supplied to Hong Kong has been channeled elsewhere. We're on top of the situation. We have an idea about how much formula milk has been supplied to Hong Kong, and if it's exported to other places, well, they should be covered by a license. As at 15th of April 2014, there has been 9,600 licenses granted by the TID. But as to where they have gone is out of our control. How much of them is not covered by these export licenses? And as a result, that has drained our supply. With the formula milk ban, if it's not covered by a license permit, an individual can only bring 2 cans with them. So has the Custom and Excise Department have any figures of cases in which formula milk has been shipped out of Hong Kong without a permit? Apart from those done by parallel traders in small quantities, there are some cases involving a large amount, and they're not covered by the export permit, but we don't have the figures here. So can you give us a ballpark figure? We don't have the figure. Maybe after the meeting we will get the information from the CNE department. Please do so, otherwise we would think that we have such an amount in Hong Kong, but in fact some of them has been drained out of Hong Kong through illegal channels. I think you have to get the information from the CNE department. You ask for the number of prosecutions and the quantity involved and the number of perpetrators involved. Some people ask, is it the case that some formula milk is no longer in tin form but in carton form to circumvent the ban? Do you know? We think that, yes, indeed, that is the situation. Apart from it in tin form, we also specify the weight under the ban. So it may be in carton form that is still under the ban. Next, Mr. Stephen Ho. I was thinking that this ban is not a product of your bureau, but the CEDB. This is to ensure that local mothers will have enough formula supply for their babies. And now we have some parallel trading companies offering a gift box, a gift set with yogurt, nappies, and formula milk. And this is a commercial activity. What if you can resolve the problems encountered by local mothers? Would you have simply hand this back to the CEDB? We have this formula milk ban. I'm sure that in Macau they encountered the same situation. Have you spoken to the authorities over there to see if there are people doing the same thing? The first question was about which bureau are. The main duty of our bureau is to ensure adequate supply for local mothers, and that is our objective. And we found that there are problems with the supply chain, and we're working along this line. Previously, we said that it's not our view that the ban should be long-term. We will continue to monitor the situation. And when it comes to Macau, I will defer to the Deputy Secretary. We learned from the press that in Macau there are parallel trade activities. I believe that their Custom and Excise Department will liaise with the counterparts to gather intelligence. I'm sure our CNE department is doing the same thing as well. A follow-up. If you have done your job when it comes to supply chain, that means it was the parallel traders who are affecting people's livelihood. Will you then hand it over to the CEDB?
Is it that you're not going to do away with the two-tin rule? Well, actually, parallel goods are not our main concern. Therefore, as I said, we would still want to work on the supply chain and improve upon it so that local mothers can have the supply. Now, my concept is it that when you have perfected the supply chain, you will do away with the two-tin rule because it is not a long-term measure. But if you do that, there will be further ferrying out of powdered formula from Hong Kong, and then there will be a local supply problem again. Well, as I said, we have been liaising with different departments and we are watching the situation. If supply for local mothers reaches our indicators, then and only then will we have the conditions of considering doing away with the two-tin rule. Mr. Raymond Chan and then Dr. K.K. Kwok. Thank you, Chairman. The situation is quite strange. It seems the administration and the LegCo are teaching the suppliers and the pharmacies how to do business. Would tell them there is the May 1st Golden Week or Lunar New Year and the mainlanders are here to buy formula milk. But in fact, it should be for them to understand the market situation and make the supply to meet consumers' demand. So there must be some problem somewhere. However, after reading the paper, I still cannot grasp the situation. Is the situation improved, and if yes, by how much? The paper is quite conservative. If I look at the shortage for the two major brands in Eastern District, over 50%, and in January, 75% shortage. Have you looked into these two brands? Is it because they are so popular, there is always a shortage? Or is it that somebody is playing tricks in the supply chain? It's quite clear that in certain districts, there is not a serious parallel goods problem. Say, for example, from the 20th to the 24th of April, Eastern District, the shortage is 77%. Have you analyzed those figures? And over the last 6 months, do you have figures for local and non-local demand? I'm talking about the past 6 months. In other words, I'm asking you whether the two-tin rule is effective, or is it that still people are taking formula milk out of Hong Kong? I have been to Lo Wu, and this is quite syndicated, you know. People take formula milk across the border and they can get back their traveling fees. Also, the coupon scheme. The paper does not tell us whether it is effective and its usage rate. Are people responding positively to it? Only 90-odd retailers use it. And in fact, in the North District, not many pharmacies take part in that scheme. Can we have more details? Undersecretary. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chan, for the questions. Number one, the brands with major shortages. Since we have the Committee on Supply Chain of Powdered Formula, in fact, we have suppliers and also people from the trade in that committee, and so we have communicated with those two brands. We have been talking about the supply chain because we know that there was a problem with the supply chain with brands that have seen shortages. Say, for example, there is stock in the warehouse. It is just that the replenishment of stock for pharmacies and retailers has been slow. So there is a feeling amongst consumers that there is a shortage. We'd like to ask the trade to improve upon this at the committee. As for the coupon scheme, as you understand, 90-odd retailers participate in the scheme. I can understand you think it is not satisfactory, and we are asking the Hong Kong GCPL to ask more of its members to take part. And also, we encourage people to pre-order online. This month, we are going to conduct the survey to try to understand how parents welcome and embrace the pre-order service. We want to know more about how people respond to it so as to allow the committee to propose more improvements. Last member, KK Kwok. Well, we don't have to be so nervous about this. From the figures, I can see that after we have had the two-tin rule, the suppliers have more business. The prices have just gone up, not down. They have made better profits, and the parallel goods trading has not been lessened at all. I think you have done so much, but then you are making it easier just for the suppliers. Every time you say there is a shortage, then they can jack up the prices, and also the parallel goods traders only have to have you to thank because you do publicity for them. In fact, I won't object to the two-tin rule. Before we have a better measure, we still have to stick to it, and so Hong Kong mothers will not be so much victimized. Whether it be parallel traders or Hong Kong local retailers, they just want to make a profit. And the biggest problem is quite paradoxical. Without the two-tin rule, parents with newborn children would be in dire straits. But when you have the two-tin rule, they also stand to lose because they cannot fight a winning battle with the parallel goods traders and the pharmacies. Now, have you considered this? Since the two-tin rule is not effective, why don't you tighten it even more? Not two tins, but only one tin can be taken out of Hong Kong without a license. Now, you would make it more costly for them to take powdered formula out of Hong Kong, and that will be a lesser incentive for the parallel goods traders. As you know, they can just chop on the Hong Kong formula milk and then sell it on the mainland. Why don't you talk to the AQSIQ and ask them to do a better job with their own products so people do not have to flock to Hong Kong to buy Hong Kong products? It is actually a shame for the mainland. And also to tighten the rule to just allow one tin to be exported. Will you consider that? We see rather serious shortages in the Eastern District. In fact, I did not expect that to happen to the Eastern District. I thought it would be most serious in Tuen Mun and the North District, but now we see a shortage in the Eastern District as well. Can you do more to help local women? Under Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Kwok. We are now trying to gather data about supply and the pre-order service. We want to know more about these. At first, we thought that if mothers would place orders by pre-ordering, then we can separate local and non-local demand. Are you succeeding? Well, initially, not many pharmacies took part. We mounted a lot of publicity, And so this month we are going to do a survey to see whether there is any progress and to see how much more publicity will have to be done. We hope we will succeed. But do you have figures now to show us whether you are successful? If you are successful, there shouldn't be any shortages. Well, we have just started to do it. Once we have the figures, we'll come back immediately to report. What about tightening up the 2-ton rule? I think we need to gather more data before we consider the next step. Okay. I think we should end our discussion of this item here. And we have asked the Bureau to give us figures on smuggling. That the data should come from the Customs and Excise Department and also the use of the hotline. Thank you very much, Professor and also Deputy Secretary. Next item, Fisheries Development Loan Fund. We have stolen almost 15 minutes from this item. We'll invite the administration team to join us now.
咁都係副局長都會喺度嘅。
We'll still have the Undersecretary. We'll also have Ms. Hinny Lam, PAS for Food and Health, and also Dr. So Ping Man, Assistant Director from AFCD.
咁呢就呢一個議題呢，因為呢係稍後都會上場。
This item will go to the Finance Committee later if members will support it. Members who are not members of the panel have therefore been invited to join the meeting for this item. So this is a financial proposal. Please avail yourself to the declaration of interest under ROP 83A. And members should not be moving any motion or amendments to any items with which you have a pecuniary interest unless you declare that interest. This is as a reminder to members. The Secretariat has also prepared a background brief. Because of time constraint, Undersecretary, can you walk us through the paper briefly and then we'll ask questions? Yes, Chairman, thank you. We propose to inject $810 million into the FDLF. We still have $290 million, and we'd like to increase it to $1,100 million. This is to meet the demand for loans, especially by those who are affected by the trawl ban. If you remember, in April 2012, the FC approved a proposal to revise the scope and terms and conditions of the FDLF. And we would allow owners of fish collectors to become eligible to seek a one-off loan under the fund so they can improve their vessels and then operate outside the waters of Hong Kong. And then there was a surge in the applications until the end of May 2012. The AFCD has received 69 applications involving almost $600 million in loans. Most of them are from owners of trawler vessels who are affected by the trawl ban. So they are applying for a one-off loan for building new fishing vessels so they can continue their fishing operations in distant waters outside Hong Kong. The current prices of these new vessels are as much as $9 million each. As I said, the fund has received 69 applications, and this has, of course, exceeded the commitment of $290 million. Now, the AFCD has already approved 28 applications amounting to a commitment of $225.5 million. We still have to process the remaining 37 applications totaling $354.4 million. Setting aside the loan amount already committed, the fund has a balance of $62.4 million as at the end of May 2014. This will not be enough for us to meet the demand from the 37 remaining applications. And in fact, we don't know whether new applications will continue to come in. Therefore, without another injection, and since the repayment period for outstanding loans will be 14 years, it will be a long time before the fund can be replenished. Therefore, in order not to hold up the processing of the applications, we hope there will be an injection. And we like to help fishermen affected by the trawl ban so they can transform their trade and continue to engage in fishing. So we hope there could be a further injection of $810 million. When we expect that between now and December 2015, we are going to receive new applications. Also, since these inshore trawlers mostly operate within Hong Kong waters, compared to the larger trawlers, the inshore trawlers are more affected by the trawl ban. So we'd like to put aside $400 million to meet their needs. In other words, we'll give priority to loans from inshore trawlers. But they have to submit their applications on or before the 31st of March 2015. After vetting the applications, if there is anything unspent from the $400 million put aside, we will put it back into the main pool to meet other eligible applications. As I said, we'd like to have an injection of $810 million. I think the only effect on government finances would just be the interest amount. Now, if everything is loaned out and the repayment period would be 14 years, the interest forgone would be $164.2 million. This is by reference to the interest rate of 3.6% offered by the Fiscal Reserve managed by the Hong Kong MA. We hope the panel will support us so that in July we can go to the FC.
Let's see how many members would like to ask questions. Mr. Stephen Ho and myself. Anyone else? If not, Mr. Tommy Zhang. 3 minutes. Thank you. When this paper was endorsed in 2012, we knew full well that there would not be enough money, and we expected the administration to come back to us. So I do think that we should allow the injection. And at that time, I said that there would not be enough money. Now they ask for $810 million. Well, apart from the 69 applications, there are still 37 applications to be processed. I know that there are some regular meetings and consultations with the trade. So I'd like to know how many people are interested and have yet to make an application, as you know, and whether the $810 million will be enough. I will give a brief reply to be supplemented by Dr. So. The $810 million is the AFCD's most accurate estimate, judging by the number of applications in the past. If it's insufficient, we may have to come back here, and I will defer to Dr. So. During the consultation, we have received some inquiries. We reckon the $110 million will be sufficient to meet the needs of fishermen who have made inquiries. And you will find some figures in paragraph 13. It shows how we work out the estimates. And at this stage, based on the estimates we have and the number of possible applications, we think this amount is accurate. We don't rule out the possibility that as the situation changes, the change in that catch, maybe by the end of 2015, some fishermen might change their minds. But as we've said, if necessary, we plan to, at the end of 2015, under the one-off loan for owners of trawlers affected, we may come back for more. I think some fishermen don't want to apply for the loan, because if they apply for the loan to upgrade their vessel, they will have to stop working for a year or two. How are they supposed to live during that time? I hope the administration will pay attention to that. Paragraph 7. It says that in April 2012, at the time when the panel had a discussion, and it was thought that 279 million would be enough. And then you said that you would consider whether to ask for an injection depending on the situation. And if we look at the LegCo paper, CB bracket 21562/11 to 12 bracket 03 in paragraph 9, it says that at the end of 2011 there is still $279 million left, and we are of the view that that is sufficient to meet the needs for loans by the trade, and in the short term there is no need for an injection. That's what the administration said to the panel. They said that they were of the view that in the near future, there was no need for an injection. But it's just over a year or two. Why do you think that there is a need for a further injection of $810 million? What happened? Let me give a brief reply to be supplemented by Dr. So. My understanding was that we worked out the amount based on the number of previous applications. Between 2006 and 2012, there was only one loan of $5 million released. So at that time, it was thought that the amount should be enough. So what happened in the past 2 years, Dr. So? In the panel meeting in April 2012, in the minutes or paragraph 21, we pointed out that should we find the situation change, we will come back for further injection before the fund is exhausted. The situation has changed because very often people in the trade would see what is going on. There are some cases for loans of about $9 million to upgrade their vessel so that it will work in distant waters. And they are inshore fishermen. Their preliminary view was to change the trade or maybe work in nearby areas. But then they found that they could not adjust. So they looked at the situation after the trawl ban has been in place, and they decided to change their minds. The brothers applied to have 4 large-scale vessels to work in the South China Sea. So when the trade was first asked about their views, such views may change as the time changes. Next, Mr. Tommy Zhang. There is always something new under the sun. I've never heard that this kind of fund will see such a huge shortage foreseen. For this kind of fund, I really cannot recall a similar instance. Can the administrations give me some information about whether there are some similar funds with the same situation? If we look at the paragraphs 15 and 16, actually the $800 million or so are for 2 types of vessels, inshore and distant waters. Perhaps, are you saying that a part of it may not be used in the end? I don't understand. For inshore trawlers, we think that they are affected more than others. So with the $810 million, we will set aside $400 million for owners of these trawlers to use first. And in relation to the $330 million plus the balance of $62 million, that will be for providing loans to inshore trawlers. So will there be money left? There is a chance that there will be some unspent balance. So what happens to it? Will it be given back to us? No, it will be put into the wider pool. The deadline is 2015. So what's the use of the fund after that? Perhaps I will defer to the PAS. As the Undersecretary explained, owners of inshore trawlers are affected more than others. The original design of the fund was on a first-come, first-served basis, but these owners might need more time to consider putting in an application. Time's running short, and that's not my question in the first place. I asked you. The deadline is 2015. Well, I don't remember whether it's April or May. So it's only a difference of a few months. Where will the unspent balance go? Where will it go? What's the use of putting the money in some kind of fund? In paragraph 16, it says that this group of owners will have their applications processed on a priority basis, but they will have to submit their applications before the 31st of March 2015. And if there is remaining balance, it will be returned to the wider pool. For the one-off loan, the actual deadline is the 31st of December 2015. Doesn't matter. Okay, by December 2015, there is still unspent balance. Where will the money go? This is the approved funding loan amount. If there is any unspent balance, it will go back to the public offer. Financial implication. You only talk about interest foregone. There is no bad debt? Have you assessed possible bad debt? You reckon there will be no bad debt? So can you tell us the rate of bad debt since the inception of the fund? We have already set it out in the paper. Since its inception, You find the information at the end of page 5. Since the inception in 1960, there is a very good track record. The bad debt ratio is about 1.5% only. My question is not answered. Again, don't waste my time. I said that for paragraph 21, there is it only talks about the interest foregone. Did you include bad debt? If it will always be so good, 1.5%, have you taken that into account in this paragraph? No. So I think you're fooling us. If that is the case, I am not going to support you. Anything to add, PAS? No, we're not. We did not mislead you. We worked with the FSTB in assessing the financial implications. The established practice is to assess the interest foregone. I don't agree. You don't include bad debt. Yes, I understand that interest foregone should be included in the financial implication assessment. But there is no reason for you not to include bad debt, as you have already said that there is bad debt. We endorse it, and then you may come back and tell us that, well, actually there is a deficiency of $41 million because of bad debt. I'm afraid the Liberal Party cannot support you. We'll give an indication as to whether we endorse it to go to the Finance Committee. Perhaps at that stage we will ask you to address the issue of bad debt. What we can do is to supplement the information for members' consideration. I believe that a lot of the fishermen are waiting for the injection because we have received over 30 applications waiting to be processed. The fishermen need the funds to convert or upgrade their vessel to work in distant waters. With the filibustering going on, I am afraid that it will be difficult for them to get it done in July unless they can get the FSTB to put them in the front of the queue.
Don't mind about the few votes from the Liberal Party. We are not really useful. Okay, I think your view has been known to the Undersecretary. We have 2 more members, 3 minutes each, Wu Chi-wai and Wang Kwok-heng. Thank you, Chairman. In paragraph 3A of the paper, it is said that the loan fund will be for the vessels to reduce fuel consumption and the carbon footprint. I believe this will help the vessels to meet environmental protection requirements. I'd like to ask you the question. If they have got the loan, how will the old vessel be phased out? Just like, vehicles, you get some loans to improve upon it or buy a new vehicle. So how will the old vessels be phased out? Dr. So, given the Hong Kong environment, we do not have the so-called lifespan of vessels, and after that vessels have to be phased out. That is why we encourage fishermen to come and apply for the loan. If they can change for more environmentally friendly engines, they can replace the engine, and also they can adjust the engine in such a way that it can function more smoothly so that fuel consumption can be reduced. Can you tell us more? You have this loan fund, and I'd like to know how many vessels have made use of the fund or otherwise to improve the operation of the vessel and to meet environment requirements. Do you have figures? I do not have the figures at hand, but in 2012, we introduced the expansion of the scope of the fund, and not too much time has elapsed since then. But my memory tells me that someone has applied for the fund on such a ground. I can supply the figures later. Well, actually, in the EA panel, we talked about air quality control, etc. And we know that one of the sources of air pollution is vessel emission. We understand all vessels can be improved vis-a-vis emissions. Now that you can support them with the loan fund, perhaps you should provide more incentive for fishermen to adjust their engines. Because as far as I know, not every fisherman would like to use the loan to convert the vessel into a vessel that can operate in distant waters. I hope you can do a good job here, and I hope you'll give me the information next time. Okay. Mr. Wong Kwok Hing? How much time do I have? 3 minutes. Chairman, I support the funding application. The inshore trawlers should be supported. The administration has taken various measures to support the long-term development of the Hong Kong fisheries industry, and in the process, fishermen are being sacrificed. I think fishermen now are in very great difficulties. So whether it be a matter of ethics or the support of the industry as a whole, I think we should do something. But at the PWSC, ESC, and also the FC, we have filibusters going on. If we support the paper today, would the application receive the attention of FC before our recess for the summer? What do you intend to do if you cannot secure the funding before the summer recess? Will there be a negative impact on fishermen who have made applications already? Secondly, amongst these application cases, has anyone been turned away, and if yes, for what reason? Undersecretary. Thank you, Mr. Wong. Number one, of course, we'd like to get the support of members here at the panel, and we thank Mr. Wong for his support. The next step is for us to go to the FC. We understand there is a backlog at the FC. Now we hope the situation will improve. But if indeed we cannot get the funding support before the summer, I have already reported that the 37 applications cannot be met by the $60-odd million remaining in the fund, and they will not be approved. If that's the case, what will be the effect on the 37 applications? Because then they cannot build new vessels, and on the other hand, you will not allow them to operate in Hong Kong waters. So the vessels would be stuck, and the fishermen will have no income. Dr. So, can you add? I think we have made some preparation already. We are processing the applications every day. So we are not going to stop accepting applications because of a lack of fund. We hope the applications will be processed while we apply for funding. So we want to process all the applications, and once we have the funding, we can approve them. How many have been refused? Four applications have not been thoroughly processed. 2 of the 4 have been withdrawn by the applicants. One was withdrawn before approval was made, and another one was withdrawn after approval was given. There were 2 that were refused because they did not meet the eligibility for application, and we had no other way but to refuse them. Okay. This paper has to go to the FC. Can I please ask members present whether you support the submission of the paper to the FC? Yes, we do. Okay. When the paper goes to the FC, I would like the Bureau and the Department to submit the supplementary information requested by members. Yes, certainly. We thank the officials attending for this item. Last item on the agenda. We'll ask the administration to follow up on wholesale markets. We'll ask the administration representatives to come in now.
有食物衛生局嘅助理秘書。
We have the Assistant Secretary for Food and Health, Ms. Vincy Chan, and also Mr. Peter Ma from AFCD joining Professor Sophia Chan. This is in the list of outstanding items. It has been there for a long time. We understand that the administration is doing a study. We have been to 2 wholesale markets recently. One, the Changshawan Temporary Wholesale Poultry Market, and also the Changshawan Wholesale Vegetable Market operated by the Vegetable Marketing Organization. We know you are going on with the study, but would like the Bureau to report how the study is being conducted. The Bureau, can you give us a brief introduction? Thank you, Chairman. Members. As the Chairman said, in response to the Chairman's request, we will now introduce the consultancy study which is going on. Since the consultancy study has not been completed, as the Chairman said, we can only talk about the scope and the present progress. When the study is completed, we will report to this panel. Now, what is the background to this study? In the 70s, the government relocated on-street fresh food wholesale activities to purpose-built wholesale complexes to improve environmental hygiene and to make way for urban development. The role of wholesale markets is to source fresh produce for retailers, and they are in contact with farmers and exporters on the mainland. They have established commercial ties with them to make sure that quality produce will be supplied continuously. Since usually farm produce is produced in large bulks, and they have to therefore move these into Hong Kong, and then retailers will buy them in smaller quantities to ensure freshness and quality. In the process, some retailers choose to buy directly from importers. We have heard views saying that the location of wholesale markets may not be entirely appropriate because they are in the urban area. So the consultant will look at safety of food and also land use. They will analyze the geographical distribution of wholesale markets, and the consulting study will focus on 5 urban area wholesale markets, including Changshawan Wholesale Food Market, Changshawan Temporary Wholesale Poultry Market, Changshawan Wholesale Vegetable Market, Yau Ma Tei Fruit Market, and the Western Wholesale Food Market. The study focuses on 4 areas. One, to capture the evolution of the wholesale business in the last 2 decades and ascertain the current situation in terms of its role and function. 2. To compare and contrast relevant overseas experience with the local situation and draw lessons for Hong Kong. And 3. To compare and contrast the operation modes of wholesale versus direct purchase and evaluate if more synergy can be achieved should there be changes to the location of some of the wholesale markets. Number 4, to recommend ways to improve provision of wholesale market facilities and service with a view to bringing enhanced efficacy and benefit to the Hong Kong community as a whole. As I said just now, after the study is completed, we'll come back and brief the panel.
Chairman, you mentioned about visit to a wholesale market, and I'd like to respond to that. On the 27th of May, panel members visited the Cheung Wan wholesale vegetable market and the Cheung Wan temporary wholesale poultry market. And I learned that during the visit, members expressed concern about the impact of the wholesale poultry market to the surrounding areas, say for example hygiene, health and safety. And I'd like to respond to that. In the past decade or so, the administration, together with local poultry trade, endeavor to improve the situation and put in place a stringent quarantine and disease control measures. Apart from restrictions and control on the live poultry, the AFCD also put in place a very stringent safety and control of poultry and animals. They would repair and renovate relevant facilities as soon as possible to reduce the risk of diseases and nuisance. And we're now looking into the feasibility of relocating the poultry market. Once we have identified a site for the use of live poultry, we would work on it. We will consider the basic facilities, the land use, the infrastructure in place. Once we have identified a suitable alternative location, we would ask a relevant department to conduct a detailed assessment. And at different stages, we will consult stakeholders and ask for their views. Thank you. We have I myself, Mr. Wong Kok Hing, and anyone else who would like to ask questions. I think we have each 4 minutes. As this Undersecretary said, that the panel has visited some wholesale markets. Undersecretary, if you've been there, you should know. The Cheung Wan temporary wholesale poultry market was in place in 1974. As the name suggests, it's temporary, but it's now 2014. It's been temporary for 40 years. So, in relation to the wholesale market feasibility study, does it include identifying alternative suitable sites to reprovision the Cheung Wan temporary wholesale poultry market? As you know, that there is a very strong view in the neighborhood. We can see in the visit that it was only across the road when there are some private residential areas, and there was no IV premises across the road either, apart from the counting only the 4 private residential areas, we're talking about over 8,000 households, and there are also schools there. You have told us about the measures about cleaning the cages, segregation of local chicken from mainland ones. Yes, but yes, you have put in place some measures, but from time to time there will be outbreaks. There is a unanimous view in the Tai Po District Council asking for the relocation of the poultry market because it's simply too close for comfort. The panel on the 29th of January 2014 in a special meeting, members endorsed a motion urging the administration to seriously tackle the fact that the poultry market is in close proximity with residential areas. The administration is urged to relocate the wholesale market to ensure safety of nearby residents. We want the temporary market to be reprovisioned and turned into a permanent one, but it seems that we can't hold our breath. So would you take into account the view of the Tai Po DC? The feasibility study is being undertaken. We hope that in the coming 6 months, once we have the results, we will revert to the panel. Subject to the finding of the survey, we hope that we will have some more information about positioning, about possible locations, and we will get a better idea about the feasibility of relocating the wholesale market. We actively identify possible sites for the reprovisioning. We will have to look into whether it can be provisioned and to where. We also look at the surrounding area, land use planning. These are factors that have to be taken into account. I want to ask, did you give instruction to the consultant to identify sites to reprovision the poultry market? The main scope of the consultancy report is to take reference from overseas experience and to identify patterns of changes in the past 2 decades. When it comes to food import, in some areas you need a wholesale market, in others not. We will gather in the information from the consultancy report before we proceed to decide how we're going to deal with the various markets. We'll liaise with the relevant departments and to get some information from them as well. Time's tight. I propose to extend it by 10 minutes. If we don't use it all up, then we don't need the 10 minutes. Mr. Wong Kok Heng. Undersecretary, the study should move ahead with the times, and it should not stick to old ideas. It's more than identifying alternative sites for reprovisioning, because no matter where it's moved to, there will be different views from different stakeholders. Should the administration consider it long-term? Say, for example, whether there is a suitable site for development into wholesale market and make it a multi-purpose, multi-story government building for this purpose. And we see that for various trades, whether it's vegetable or poultry, they are exposed to the elements. Why don't you consider providing them an indoor and controlled environment to reduce their hardship? It's worth considering. Also, in the perspective of health, public health. Well, now, would you consider some special device and measures when processing chicken to better sterilize the environment when there is an outbreak, so that you will be on top of the situation? This is a way to address concerns expressed by stakeholders and residents wherever you are going to move it to. This will improve the environment. You have to also take into considerations of environmental hygiene and food safety in the design of the future premises. Please take into account my views, collect views from experts. Consider a controlled area for processing food or poultry. It will benefit everyone. So will you consider vertical development of the premises? I thank Mr. Wong for his views in relation to better use of land, measures to improve the environment, instead of just thinking about an alternative site. The consultancy report will be released in hopefully 6 months' time. It will look not just into wholesale business. They also look into whether there is any new pattern, given the fact that it's developed for many years. And yes, we will also consider your views. Director, anything to add? The consultant will take reference from overseas experience and look into it from a professional perspective. When it comes to using providing an air-conditioned environment, well, it may not be conducive because you still need ventilation. Anyway, we will take reference from overseas experience. The Bureau will engage a consultant to conduct a study, and all these will be taken into account in the formulation of the relevant policy. Mr. Stephen Ho, I heard from members, including the chairman, asking whether the Cheung wholesale market will affect local residents. Well, I want to know whether there are any cases in which local residents have caught disease as a result of the market. We know that there is a long history of the market, and I know that there is pressure. I've spoken to the trade; they don't object to this, depending on your plan. But the fact is, you can't work it out. They want to move, but to where? Because no matter where it goes to, there will be objections. And as to whether these can all be put under the same roof, well, we have worked out a proposal. Say in Yuen Long, there is a complex housing the different markets, maybe not on the same site, but in a nearby area. And in the medium and long term, there will be central processing of food imported from the mainland, say for example chilled chicken or chilled beef, so that it will improve traceability. We've asked the trade, and they indicated that as long as the administration can find a site, they don't mind pulling funds together to make it happen. Parking is a difficulty in the Yamate fruit market. Well, I hope the administration will find a solution. Will you give an answer, administration? First, Yamate. We understand that there is a nuisance caused to the area. Recently, we have issued a tender to make use of a site under a flyover by way of a short-term tenancy to operate to reduce nuisance. We hope. Well, we will wait for the consultancy report and we will give you an answer in one go. We should not wait for a Central resident to fall ill or die as a result of avian flu before we start doing something. 40 years ago, it wasn't a densely populated area. But now, from the perspective of land use, you see that you should not put wholesale poultry markets so close to a residential area. Now that it's already a residential area, we have to find alternative sites to reprovision the market. There is a mismatch. The market should not be there. Well, we can't simply ask the Food and Health Bureau to to take the blame. Now, another issue, Yamate Fruit Market. You're going to ask for submission to make use of the site underneath the flyover. I know that the road has been hogged by either trolleys or large trucks offloading goods.
Very often, only one lane is left for vehicles. There is no parking space. They're parked all over the place. They can just be booked by traffic police. I'm sure you know that the Tai Po District Council would want the fruit market moved. Originally, it was said that it could move to phase 2 of the Changshawan temporary wholesale market, but now the site has been earmarked for housing by C.Y. Leung. So the reserved site has been taken away. How can the FH Bureau hold on to the sites earmarked for you? So the Changshawan temporary wholesale poultry market and the Yamate fruit market have nowhere to move to now. The Bureau, shouldn't you review your work? Why is it that the sites earmarked for you have been taken away and yet you do not have new sites given to you? And then you ask the Yamate residents to continue to put up with the situation because they are not taken sick yet. The Undersecretary said that the report would be ready by end of year. I hope then you will have a paper to let us know what you intend to do about relocating Yamate fruit market and the Changshawan temporary wholesale poultry market, and also whether the other wholesale markets should be consolidated or relocated. All right, you should give us an answer. Yes, Chairman. When we have the information, we'll report to you. Let me give a brief response to the fruit market issue. In fact, we have discussed this many times with the trade. Every time we may find a site, and then the sector or trade would show some concern because they may have to cease their operation for some time. Now, they would ask questions and then we'll respond to those questions. Now we are waiting for the industry to let us know the exact area the facilities that their traders need. We will need those specific answers from them. The process is ongoing. Any other questions? If not, that's it for the agenda today. If there is nothing under AOB, the meeting is adjourned here. Thank you very much for attending the meeting.